right, let's go ahead and talk about our third playoff game on the rundown. This is, you say you think this is easier to predict than Georgia Notre Dame, but I think this is what's going to be probably our best game of the quarterfinals, and that would be Ohio State, Oregon. And, we've seen this once before this season. Is it going to go any differently?
I mean, I think I said this when we did the recaps. If Ohio State plays like they did against Tennessee 3 more times, they will win the national title. What's hard to know is whether or not they play that well or not. And obviously people make a big deal about Dylan Sampson being out and, Tennessee losing some weapons out at wide receiver. To me, that wasn't even as big of it. Like, they were not going to outscore Ohio State in this game. If Ohio State needed to score 50 to win, they were going to. And so that offense is absurd when it's clicking. And I know Oregon's got a really good offense too, but they've been up and down at times this year. Obviously, they found a way to win all their games. I think, and again, you never know how
find a way to win all their games, and their reward is to play potentially the second best team in the playoffs.
Yeah, probably the most. I think Ohio State's probably top to down the best roster in the playoff. It's them or Texas, and that might be Oregon's next 2 games, right? Ohio State and Texas. Like, there's a reward for you, and then if you do that, you've got a Georgia team waiting possibly on the other side that has won several of the last couple, or the last few. So yeah, I think that. I don't know. Oregon, certainly, I'm not trying to say that they can't win this thing or anything, because I agree with you. This will be the best game of the weekend. I think it could be the best game of the entire playoffs.
Yeah.
If Ohio State plays like they did 10 days ago, I don't think, maybe the 2019 LSU Tigers could beat them, but not many teams outside of that, right? Like, this is a game, an Ohio State team that if they figured things out, if they are clicking, if they are motivated by what happened against Michigan, I don't know. They're just stupidly talented. I think the wide receiver matchup in this game is so much fun. To me, these are the best 2 wide receiver cores in all of college football. I don't think either quarterback is, bad by any means, but I don't know. Me or you could throw to some of these wide receivers, and obviously Gabriel's a Heisman finalist. Like, he's really good.
Right.
So that's not a shot, but me or you could throw to some of these wide receivers and look really good out there. And so to me, we think about the Georgia game being running in defense. I think this Ohio State Oregon game could be, I don't know, in the 70s, right? Like, this could be a 35-38 game, which would be a ton of fun. And that's what I hope for.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm all for give us all the points. And, it's crazy to think Oregon has just joined the Big Ten, but they kind of already feel like a staple, right? Undefeated record, win the title, beat, knock off the king of the Big Ten in Ohio State in their first go round, but then they have to do it again. And, is this game an example of why we need to figure out a different setup for this playoffs? If we need to do what the NFL does and reseed, or if we need to just do away with, automatic buys, like, this is stupid that this game is happening in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, it should happen later, right? If you're going to have a game like this, you should, a lot of times they do that in college basketball because there's so many more teams. So we either need to go lower or higher, and they're certainly not going to take teams away from this thing. But yeah, like, in a lot of times they would never put Duke and Carolina in the same region, right? They might make it where they could play in the Final Four, but they wouldn't make that a regional final. And to me, that's what this feels like. This is a regional final, and the winner of this game, I don't know that they would be favored to win it all, but write this down. Like, on Thursday, when we get back on here and recap these games, like, see if the winner of this game isn't the favorite to win it all after it happens, right? Like, and, it'll either be them or Texas, right? But that's kind of the way I think about this. Is the winner of this game is probably my pick to win the national title. First of all, I think both teams are incredibly talented. I think they have less flaws than some of the other teams we've talked about, and they will have just beaten maybe a top 2 or 3 team in the country. And so, yeah, I think if Ohio State wins this, they might be the favorite to win it all. If Oregon wins this, they might be the favorite to win it all. You also talked about the Pac-12 to the Big 12, the move by Oregon and coming in and all of a sudden going 13-0 and winning all their games. The most underrated part of this game to me is the fact that it's essentially a Pac-12 team playing a Big Ten team in the Rose Bowl on New Year's Day. Like, just all of the pageantry.
The tradition is just there.
Everything that you love about college football is also happening in this too. Like, this isn't a weird.
The moves. It is happening anyway.
This is phenomenal. Like, this is everything you could want. And again, yeah, I'd like this to be the national championship. I like this to be a later round game. But I also think that there's some really cool aspects of this. The
Yeah.
way it worked out, getting it in the Rose Bowl,
Yeah. The
is
Rose
really
Bowl's happy
important.
for sure.
For sure.
I think it's interesting. Last time I looked, Ohio State was favored by I think 1.5, which is so interesting to me because Oregon's healthy. Ohio State's got some offensive linemen that are dealing with some injuries, and so I find that kind of interesting. I would consider this more of a home game for Oregon because it's on the West Coast, and they don't have to travel nearly as far. But what is there a benefit to being the team that lost the first go round for Ohio State? Like, is it when you're playing a rematch, which position do you want to be in? Do you want to be the team that already won the first time, or do you want to be the team with something to prove?
So I'd lean towards Ohio State, but I'll say I think that's very minimal in this game. Like I think that I mean, obviously you remember '96. If it was closer together,
Yeah.
right, maybe it would matter a little bit more. But that was so early in the year, and Ohio State's playing really well right now. Oregon's been up and down, but played really well in their Big Ten championship game, and so I don't really worry about like a motivation factor or we need to
Well, it's
beat
also
these
the
guys.
playoffs, so there should be
Right.
no motivation.
It's not like
Period,
a
right?
we need to beat these guys because they beat us last time. It's we need to win this game because
Because we want to go to
we
the
want to go to the next round of the playoffs. And so I don't know. I think that I'd lean towards Ohio State, but I don't think I really don't think there's much of an impact there or factor there at all.
yeah. I think it's interesting looking at some of the comments. Most overrated venue in sports is no doubt the Rose Bowl. Listen, I've never been. It is on my bucket list for sure. But
I saw my team win a national championship in the Rose Bowl and the sun going down behind it. Now the venue itself actually sucks. When you're in your seat, you're not really thinking about how
right,
crappy or old the stadium
yeah,
is, how it is incredibly hard to get in. Like if you were going to this game, you need to be in your seats like 45 minutes before,
yeah,
because it is an absolute crap show to get into it. But once you're in, like you have to like turn sideways because the gates are about this narrow before all of America was overweight.
right.
But
Probably
yeah,
not
outside
eating
of that,
anymore.
when the sun is setting behind the mountains, it is a pretty cool venue to be watching a game in. And
Yeah,
again, I maybe I'm a little bit biased because of the game that I saw there, but yeah, it was pretty fantastic. There was a little bit of it might have been some just because it was the actual national championship too,
yeah.
but there's a little bit of I almost like was almost emotional when I walked in. Like I cannot believe I'm here right now.
Well, you are a
And
sissy as well, so
hey, whatever it takes, like you have to get emotional about something in life, and college football is one of those things. So.
Well, I've never been. I did watch my cousin win a national title there on TV when he played for Alabama. But
Who are you picking in this one?
I think this is really hard. This is a toss up for me. I like the way Ohio State looked in the first round against Tennessee, and if they play that way, it's hard for me to pick against them. But this is the tightest game in my opinion.
That's not a pick. That's a very
Okay.
political
All
answer.
right, Ohio State. All right, Ohio
Yeah.
State, but barely.
Yeah, I think Ohio State wins this. I think they win by a touchdown. I think it's a good game. I think it's a lot
I
of
think,
fun. I think their
I think
offense
it's
is just a
closer
little
than
bit
that.
too much. I also think their defense is playing really well too. And so
Yeah.
I I don't know. The last one was obviously a classic. It could have gone either way, a 1 point game. I don't think that it was. I don't think you look at a 1 point win by either team and say like, oh, that team's definitively better. I think you've got two really even teams, and I think Ohio State's probably just a little bit more talented, and they win. But nothing would shock me in this one. I think it's gonna be the best game of the weekend.
Hey guys, we appreciate you so much tuning into a peek inside SEC football. If you enjoyed the content, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any new content heading your way. We are live every Sunday evening and we would love to have you join us.